Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome. Tonight is one of those rare opportunities that we get. I always say that this microphone and this webcam gives me a chance to talk to some really incredible and interesting people. And tonight will be one of those kind of shows. Tonight's guest is very interesting and has an interesting story to share. His name is Samuel Chong, and he's a motivational keynote speaker. He talks about things like wellness, resilience, mindset, leadership, health and well-being, spirituality, near-death experiences, as well as some stranger topics like extraterrestrials, ancient mysteries, and esoteric knowledge. He's actually a lawyer in California and also a certified court interpreter of the Chinese language. And Samuel Chong visited this person, Michael Desmarquet, who's the author of the Thioouba Prophesy, which tells an incredible story of a man who was visited by apparently visited by extraterrestrials from another star system, taken on an incredible journey. Mr. Chong was instrumental in arranging for the Chinese publication of this book, which has been a bestseller in both China and Taiwan, which is kind of rare. He's also translated a few other books, and I always find it very interesting when some very incredibly well-educated people have a belief in extraterrestrial visitation on Earth. I felt that way about Stanton Friedman. He was a nuclear physicist, an incredibly well-educated man. And Samuel Chong strikes me like that. Tonight's guest, he graduated from UC Berkeley with a Bachelor of Arts in Economics. And he has several other degrees in financial analysis from Northwestern California University School of Law. He got a law degree. He currently lives in Los Angeles, California. And some of you may have seen him on these many different podcasts like that, UFO podcasts, and sort of what I would call the True Believer podcast. But tonight, a lot of people think he's kind of stepping into the lion's den here with all of you very skeptical people and me. But I have tremendous respect for him because he's willing to answer any questions we have. Maybe we'll have time for audience questions. And he's willing to share his knowledge both about, I thought we could begin. You know, I'm always interested in how other cultures view different subjects like religion and spirituality. And I once had an opportunity. I worked for a Chinese family for many years. And that was a really good experience for me because I got to learn a lot about Chinese culture and Chinese food, which I love. And I was blown away by the work ethic of this family. They would work for 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, most days. Both the husband and the wife and their children all worked at this business. It was a computer business, and just kind of informed me why Chinese do so well. Because us Americans, we're lazy. We don't even want to put in an 8-hour day. These people would really put in 14, 16-hour days, whatever needed to be done. If we had orders to fulfill, the owner of the company would stay up all night building the systems and doing, whatever he had to do. So it gave me a tremendous respect for the Chinese and the Chinese culture. Let's bring him in here. One moment here. There we go. Welcome, Samuel Chong. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Stephen.
I think we're going to have an interesting conversation. And I don't know if you were warned off, because a lot of the True Believer people, they think they're scared. They think I'm going to be nasty or mean. And I guess maybe I have been in the past to some people, but those are people that I perceive to be like scammers or grifters or con artists. I don't really get that from you. I think you have a genuine belief in this. So we'll start off first with a question that I ask many, many people who are interested in aliens and UFOs, and that is, what exactly started you on that rabbit hole? Like, what got you so interested in the topic of UFOs and aliens and extraterrestrials?
So I was born in China. Back in the 80s, China was fairly open to this phenomenon in which there were magazines on this topic. There was a magazine called UFO Magazine, which I was on like a very loyal reader. And there are a lot of stories, one of which was that a physicist was taken by the ETs to their spacecraft. And then he was told that even though Einstein laid the three fundamental principles of modern physics, he made a small mistake, so that we believe that we cannot go faster than the speed of light. So that actually struck me very, very hard, because I was thinking, if the ETs could come and visit us, we can just learn from them. That's kind of my naive belief, believing that we can just learn from the ETs and then just to get the knowledge from them, so we can be like them and to really progress at a much faster pace. I was trying to get a shortcut, learning from the masters, learning from the ETs who like may have a far more advanced civilization than us. So that got me started in researching and reading the books written by ET contactees. But I was actually fairly disappointed afterwards, to be honest.
Okay, so did you get a sense, like especially the 50s contactees from the United States, did you get a sense that some of them were, let's just say, less than credible, and there for selling books, and like Adamski and some of these early people?
I got a feeling, yes, because if the ETs could come and visit us, they must be able to explain everything that we didn't know. For example, who built the Great Pyramid of Egypt? Why there are so many people vanish in the Bermuda Triangle? What about the stories in the Bible? But those books contain good but vague information, and I couldn't really get a lot of information out of those books. And also there are some like ET contactees who claim that they received channeled information. I was really into that too, but I was extremely disappointed because the information really didn't contain facts that I could verify. So I was
That's a big problem, and
yes,
there are some contactees or people who you would call contactees that are clearly con artists, like that have been caught hoaxing things. Billy Meyer comes to mind. I had quite an encounter with Billy Meyer, and he's got quite a cult of true believers. They don't care that he made those, made UFO models out of trash cans. It's very clear that he made models, and these were fake pictures. So, I know that you believe a lot of the stuff in this one particular book, but when you encounter all the the fakery and the fraud, did that sort of inform you that maybe some of this stuff, or a lot of this stuff, is just fakers and fraudsters?
I believe there are a lot of fake information around there. For example, Billy Meyer, if you really read into that, you're going to see that he claimed that the ETs told him that the Great Pyramid of Egypt was built by 200,000 slaves using a 40-year period of time. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, the 40 years to build a pyramid using 200,000 slaves, I mean, it just doesn't seem credible and possible and plausible. I mean,
but aliens building them seems more plausible, though. I don't know.
No, I don't think so. No.
You know what, Mr. Chong? What I don't like is that sometimes when there's a mystery, a human mystery, people jump straight to aliens. You know what I mean? They go like, "Well, humans, we were stupid. We had copper tools. We couldn't have done that. They had to have help from aliens." And I go, "Well, you're taking credit away. These people were." Like, even just look at the mathematics that they had to do to be able to build that thing. It's pretty incredible. Ancient man was a lot more advanced than some people give him credit for. And even though we don't know exactly how they did it, I don't like to jump to the alien hypothesis, right?
No, the aliens didn't build the Great Pyramid. We actually had ancient civilizations that sooner or later people are going to find more evidence on that. And I think we have to be very grounded and to be very, very specific in finding evidence of certain things, and not just to believe anything that ET contactees say about anything. And I do say that I was quite disappointed in reading a lot of the books that I read in the past.
I've
Not,
read so many books, Mr. Chong, that some of them I like when I get to the end of them, I go, well, that was a total waste of time. You know, because to me, a lot of it is just like mythology. It's sort of like a science fiction story, but somebody's claiming it's real. Like like Corey Good, for example. He went on all these secret space missions, and I don't know if you're aware, but I'm the guy that got those court depositions in which he admitted that he'd never been to space. So a lot of these things to me turn out to be a waste of time, and I've cut down the amount. I used to read every book I could get on aliens or UFOs, but lately I just go, I don't want to. It's a waste of time a lot.
I agree, and I do check certain facts out and decide whether to proceed or not. And I suggest people do the same as well. Just use your own intuition and do your own research when believing certain things or not. And to me, I think the government is just a machine and having its own narratives, and we should seek the knowledge on our own and not to rely on any government-sponsored media or the private media as well.
Well, speaking of that, I wanted to ask you what is the Chinese government's position on UFOs, both historically and now with the Chinese Communist government? Do they have programs like the United States to study unknown sightings? Are they concerned with Chinese airspace and incursions into Chinese airspace? Is there rumors of crashes and back engineering programs in China like there is in the United States?
Well, it really depends on which time frame or time period of time they're referring to. The Chinese TV programs really got started in the late 80s. And that's when the media was quite open, and there were a lot of reports of UFO sightings and also alleged ET abductions of Chinese citizens, in which the government-sponsored media reported on. But then after the Falun Gong incident, the Chinese media became more stringent in reporting UFOs or
yeah, I was gonna ask you about Falun Gong because I have some personal experience with Falun Gong. There was a YouTube channel called Edge of Wonder, and they went from a brand new YouTube channel to like hundreds of thousands of subscribers in just a few months. And, I said, something's not right here. So I began to look into the two gentlemen that ran that channel. And it turned out that they were former employees of Falun Gong. And then it turned out that Falun Gong was like funding their YouTube channel, which promoted aliens. Can you tell us a little bit about Falun Gong and what you know about it?
Falun Gong started out as a practice for people to improve their health using
kind of like Tai Chi, right?
Tai Chi and the energy, the Qigong work. And then they began to really have a mass followings in China. And then there was one incident in which they gathered their practitioners in front of the Tiananmen Square. And the government was afraid of a movement similar to the Tiananmen Square incident, in which they actually outlawed Falun Gong to be a cult. And actually, there are a lot of similarities between I don't want to say put the words into people, but it's a good practice. But the way that they behave themselves are sometimes questionable, as reported by Western media.
Yeah, well, that YouTube channel I was telling you about, they were sent, and this was somebody that was very close to them, was telling me that Falun Gong sent them slaves. Like they had people to run lights, they had people to run the cameras, they had people to, promote the show. They had like 10 or 15 Chinese nationals that were living here in the United States that were basically slaves. They weren't getting paid. For years they were doing this, which is kind of very cult-like. Do you think and for those unaware, Falun Gong is basically like a cult that believes in aliens and UFOs, and but they do have this sort of spiritual practice side that's like meditation, and that's how people get into it. But then it gets a little wacky. Like, doesn't the leader, he says that black people and white people go to two different heavens. They don't go to the same heaven. And there's a lot of wacky beliefs in that. It's a cult. It's a weird cult. But they have millions of dollars, and they also have these front groups that do things that people enjoy, like the dance. They do these dance shows that is just filled with beautiful Chinese culture and costumes, and so I mean, from the outsider looking in, it doesn't look so nefarious, but I think it might be, right?
It's a beautiful dance, and people do practice Falun Gong, and people do have effects, beneficial health effects that are beneficial, turned out to be helpful to them in the future. But the key is that people don't realize that we are all creations of the Creator. They don't have to follow a specific religious leader or like the leader of the organization to communicate with the source, I mean the Creator, and we can meditate, if we can practice our own, practice the way that Falun Gong people practice, and to really get what we need, and we don't have to follow the teachings of the religious leader or the cult leader or any cult leader. We can just believe in ourselves because we can connect to the source directly. So I think this is something that people need to understand. I think Falun Gong people are generally very nice people, and I really like the way that they really promote this kind of Qigong practice. But people should have their own freedom, their free will to decide their future.
Yeah, and also for those unaware, Falun Gong was the organization that was running the Epoch Times, which is basically like anti-CCP. They really don't like the Chinese government, so they're very anti-Chinese government. And I don't know. I know that they sort of got booted off of YouTube, this other channel that was associated with Falun Gong, and the Epoch Times had a channel that was booted, and essentially for spreading Chinese propaganda, which doesn't make sense because they're anti-CCP. So I don't really know what went on with that, but it's an interesting, weird group that believes in aliens and UFOs and things like that,
Yes, that really doesn't make any sense.
So back to the Chinese government, do you believe that there was rumors of crashes or abductions and things like that was reported in China?
Yes, there are several incidents that are reported by the Chinese government media, and also a lot of journalists visited the site and actually verified through different psychological analysis or lie detectors test, and to really validate the stories of the witnesses. And it turned out that those stories are supposedly to be true. However, what I learned is that we really cannot get out of anything from the stories because they really don't help us.
Problem. This is the problem I have with experiencers. They have their experience, they have a story. A great example is Whitley Strieber. That book, Communion, I don't know if you know that book. I'm sure you do. That had a huge, tremendous cultural impact in the United States. But at the end of the day, it's just a story. He has no evidence, no proof, no, nothing to back up the story. So that is tantalizing but frustrating to me.
And also, some of the books make people have fears of ET contacts. And I think it actually causes negative psychological effects on certain people. And I think there are several books that are like that, in which people are fearful to be abducted. And I think there are certain abduction experiences that may be caused by man-made technologies, either through holographic simulation or through some kind of military reverse engineered spacecrafts. I don't know, but I think the real ETs may not interfere us in any negative way, as those books
Well,
describe.
I don't know. Getting anally probed sounds a little negative to me, Samuel Chong. You know, some of these stories describe, including Whitley Strieber, he describes getting like anally probed. We'll take a moment to recognize Chill Station 7 with one for the goal, saying, keep up the great work. Thank you. And guys, don't be shy with the super chats. We'll try to fit them in. But thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Chill Station 7, big show supporter. And we've got one from Farty McFly. Falun Gong used to give me bowls of rice when I was homeless. I didn't have a clue they were wackadoo. Well, that's interesting. You know, when I was very poor and very struggling artist in my younger years, I would go and have vegetarian meals with basically a cult. But they were very nice and they would feed me, and they didn't try to really, well, they did try to recruit me into the cult. But, you know, thank you, Farty McFly, for your kindness, generosity, and support. So lead us into this prophecy book that has you so fascinated, because I'm interested to see. I mean, I've read the book 5 years ago. I'm just leafing through it again today and yesterday, trying to get reacquainted with it. But it's very similar, in my opinion, Mr. Chong, to the Law of One material. And it's very similar also to the Urantia book in one way. And this is what makes me so cautious about this book, because this book, it's only like 172 pages, very quick read. It's not hard to get through, but it kind of like seems to seek to answer all your questions about life's greatest mysteries. You know, like what happened to the dinosaurs, Jesus, the ancient pyramids, the ancient civilizations. Am I wrong in my read of that? That it seems like too good to be true. That was my take.
You know, to be frank, and when I was reading the book for the first time, halfway through, I thought it was a science fiction. I didn't believe in the book at all until I read a chapter about Christ, because it talks about there's a tomb of Jesus in Japan. Remember the author, he was a farmer in Australia who didn't have a lot of education. He didn't know how to type on computer. And he really never traveled to Japan, and there was no internet at that time back in 1993 when the book was published.
Yeah, and for those unaware, there is a story that Jesus went to Japan. And in this story, and I have a little bit of a problem with this, Mr. Chong, because I was raised very Catholic. But the story is that Jesus' brother somehow substituted for Jesus and went on the cross and died. And Jesus escaped, and he went to Asia, ending up in Japan. And to this day, right, there's a site in Japan that people say is the tomb of Jesus.
Yeah, that got me extremely curious when I first read the book, and I did some search and find out whether there was a tomb of Jesus in Japan or not. It turned out that yes, there is a tomb that people can still visit. And actually, this book really amazed me by connecting all the dots, explaining like what happened and why people say that there's a tomb, why people say that Jesus went to India, and why there's a tomb of Jesus, and why there's a tomb next to the tomb of Jesus, which is his brother's, having a lock of his brother's hair. And also explains why in the Bible, when Jesus saw his mother after he began preaching, he didn't call his mother mother, he called his mother woman. It also explains why, when you read the Bible, you are not able to find any evidence of Jesus performing miracles before the age of 30, before he began preaching. So this book explains everything like this, all the questions I had, and I made me believe some of the stories in the Bible. That really shocked me and lead me into more investigations into some of the other facts stated in the book, which really kind of shocked me. I mean,
do you know what is there any actual historical evidence to suggest that this is the tomb of Jesus? Because, and again, this is just my knee-jerk reaction being Catholic, and I was educated by Jesuits, priests, and nuns for my whole life, and scripture study and Bible study and theology classes. And I'd never heard any. I had heard from one person rumors that Jesus went to India. And that's why some of the Buddhist teachings are very similar to Christian teachings. But do you know, is there actual evidence of this, or is this just a story? And where do you know anything about where the story originated of this Jesus tomb in Japan?
I mean, Japanese people, in my mind, they're basically very honest people, not like the Chinese. I mean, I'm Chinese. I know sometimes Chinese people want to fix things.
Way to throw your own race under a bus, Mr. Chong. Yeah. I don't know. I told you, I said in the intro, I worked for this Chinese family, and to this day, I still think that was one of the best job experiences that I had, because I was very young, and the owner of that company, taught me about work ethic and showing up every day, because I'm a lazy American. I would call out sick. He'd go, "How sick are you? Unless you're dying, get in here. We have things to do today." He really taught me a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if you know Japanese people too, I mean, they're basically also very honest people, and there's no benefit for them to make things up like this, like to fake a tomb of Jesus, and why? What purpose? So for what? So that's kind of something very strange to me. So I think that deserves special attention and investigation. And it turned out that this book connects all the dots, saying that the Jesus, the one born out of Virgin Mary, from the embryo implanted by the ETs.
Yeah, this book also says that Jesus was implanted into his mother Mary by aliens. So it was a case of artificial insemination, according to this book. And that's what the aliens told this gentleman, right?
Yes, that seems to be very fun.
I don't know what I think about that, but a lot of people have suggested that. And CSK with 5 says, "Respect to a sincere and seeming and open guest." Yes, and Troll with 1 for the goal. Come on, guys, let's make 3 goals in a row. Yeah. So being raised so Catholic, I have a hard time with those stories of Jesus going to India, or stories of Jesus going to Japan. And because honestly, if Jesus wasn't crucified and didn't raise himself from the dead, then that sort of nullifies the whole Christian belief system. So I'm just cards on the table. My knee-jerk reaction to that kind of stuff is like, if you're going to say that, you have to have some evidence of it. But then again, the Bible is pretty short on evidence. It's legends, histories, oral traditions, and stories that were written down in most cases hundreds of years after he was no longer on earth. So who knows, right?
Most of the stories in the Bible are true. After I read this book, Thioouba Prophesy, and I confirmed that a lot of things really did happen. For example, Exodus really did happen. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah happened, and the birth of Jesus from a virgin happened. And how could someone have been born from a virgin if not from an embryo? So that if not, then that's against the natural law.
It is against natural law, but according to Catholics and Christians, it's not a technological explanation. It's like a spiritual explanation for what happened. God put him there from a virgin. It is Echo with 1 for the goal. Buddha predated Jesus by 500 years. You are correct. Yeah. So this book the prophecy book here, it sort of gives an alternate history of things, providing some alien intervention and technological explanation for some of the greatest human mysteries, like the virgin birth of Christ, or, right?
Yeah, and also explains how Jesus went to India, who really died on the cross. Christ did die on the cross and resurrected 3 days after. And actually, China kept a very detailed astronomical record in the past, because the emperors, they see the signs in the sky as warnings to them. So they are really particular on the astronomers in China. And I was able to pinpoint the specific date of the birth of Jesus and the crucifixion as well as the resurrection of Christ from the descriptions in the Bible, aligning them with the astronomical records of China. And actually, I wrote an article about it.
And negate the things in this book doesn't the book claim he went to Japan and his brother was crucified on the cross?
No, not this book, but the folklore of the Japanese.
Oh, the folklore of the Japanese people. Okay,
Yes.
It just mentions the Japanese tomb.
Yes, it just
of
mentions the
Jesus.
Japanese tomb. Yes.
Okay, so the book doesn't
Doesn't.
negate that
Doesn't
Jesus died
negate.
on the cross.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my memory of the book is a little foggy here. So
It actually, the book is very interesting because it actually encourages people to follow the teachings of Christ, while at the same time warning people that religion is one of the 4 most dangerous things on earth.
well, I totally understand that. Like Catholic, I'm no longer really Catholic because I think the Catholics corrupted some of the teachings, and things, especially in the Catholic Church, things become about money. And the Roman Catholic Church has way too much money and way too much resources. They're the largest real estate owners on planet Earth. They own more real estate than any other organization. So that alone means they're, have a great deal of wealth. But when it comes to this book, the prophecy book that you're so convinced is real, and we'll get into the reasons why you're convinced it's real. First of all, I don't know. To me, it's another guy telling a story. And there's a frequently asked question on the website here that gives sort of a excuse for why there's no evidence, right? Well, we can't give the aliens giving us technology would be like giving matches to a baby, is the basic explanation. So is there any supporting evidence, corroborating witnesses to his going in the spaceship? And, is there anything other than his testimony?
Well, his family members can testify saying that he was gone for 10 days. He disappeared for 10 days and then came back and had a very long sleep afterwards. And he didn't bring any material evidence here except for the fact that he was gone for 10 days.
Well, did they feed them? Did the aliens feed him
Yes.
while he was? Okay.
He actually ate a lot of food over there.
And we know that they have bathrooms, according to the website here that I saw earlier. So somebody asked if the aliens had bathrooms. So explain the basic story. So he, and I have a rudimentary understanding of it. So he wakes up in the middle of the night to bright light, and he thinks he's sick or something, and he meets this entity, and just kind of explain what happens.
So that happened in June 1987. He woke up in the middle of the night, and then he didn't know why, but he wrote a note saying that he will be gone for 10 days or so. There's no need to worry about him. And then he walks outside of his house. He was lifted up to the mid of the air where he saw this beautiful 10-foot tall ET, like a woman, wearing a spacesuit. And she told him that they were going to have a journey together. So they went through a parallel universe in which stationed their spacecraft. He entered into the spacecraft and was disinfected using yellow light and blue light. And then they started their journey together after stopping by on different planets, and then they reached their destination that seemed to be a paradise because everything is so perfect. The people there are so beautiful and compassionate. They can live forever because according to them they can regenerate their body cells and tissues
and even create new bodies.
Yes, and they communicate through telepathy. They can levitate, just like what the Catholic priests did when they were in a meditative state praying. And they can heal all the diseases and we can think of. They can materialize objects, and they ate like different colors of powders as their food or nutrition. They also gave Michelle, the author, manna. Like according to them, they also gave manna to the Hebrews to eat during Exodus, because
So there's a
manna.
tie-in to the Bible and the Exodus
Yes,
saying, but see, this is again, it's sort of like replacing God with aliens. Because according to the Bible, God gave the Israelites the manna. But according to this book, it was aliens that gave the Israelites the manna.
well,
So you see that there's this like replacement of the supernatural or the divine one true God or Yahweh. You know, there's sort of a replacement, and that's why I say this is like an alternate history of things, because it's kind of like going, you know, to a very devout Catholic or Christian or Jew, this book is you know, like heretic, because it's saying God didn't give the Israelites that manna or lead them out of Egypt. It was the aliens that did that. It's sort of
right.
replacing God with an alternate explanation, which is aliens, which I guess ties into the ancient aliens kind of philosophy. Or
Yeah, I mean, there's a distinction between God, the creator, which is a pure spirit, versus the highly advanced ETs that were described as angels or Jehovah's in the scriptures.
Elohim, yeah.
Yes. So the ETs were also created by the creator. So there are different levels of ETs. There are far more advanced ETs. There are lesser advanced ETs, just like I mean, the ones that their spacecraft crashed on Earth. I mean, we should learn from the masters, I think. So there in the Bible, the creator is the pure spirit. So the creator doesn't have a face. So when it created every one of us on Earth, it actually inserted a tiny portion of itself to each of one of our astral bodies. So we are part of the creator, and the creator is part of us. We are
Yeah, I've
actually,
heard that many times, that we all have a spark of the creator within us. And that
yes,
sort of makes sense, because especially if you believe the Bible, which says that God created man in his own image,
yeah,
maybe that just means that he gave us each a piece of his divine ability, you know?
yeah.
It's interesting to think about. But back to the story of what happened to this gentleman. So they take him on a journey through space, and according to the book, that they were traveling outside of normal time and outside of normal space, which would kind of be like, you know, warping somewhere or going through a wormhole or hyperspace. Can you
Yeah,
explain that a little bit? Because a lot of people would say, well, faster than light travel is not possible. So how did they get to, and where exactly was the star system that he was taken to? Do we know?
well, let me explain one by one. The first of all, they used a portal or a warp in space to travel, actually to hide themselves. So this is why when you see the sky in the night, you're going to see some of the UFOs or UAPs frequently appear from the same location in space. This is because they use the warp or this kind of portal to enter and leave Earth. And the ETs from this book use the same kind of warp or natural phenomenon. This also explains why there are so many people who vanish in the national parks or near the Bermuda Triangle area.
Oh, Missing 411.
Yes,
I used to really like that series before he got too wacky and started saying it was Bigfoot grabbing people or aliens grabbing people. You know, I mean, it is a weird mystery, but I'm an outdoorsman, and like, I know how dangerous it is in the national parks. There's cliffs, there's rivers, there's creeks, there's rocks everywhere. You could fall and down a cliff and die and never be seen from again. So I think there's a natural explanation, but there's something wacky about why they hide the national statistics. They don't know. The national parks don't know. You have to go by state to know how many people go missing in the parks.
and if you look at the map that David Paulides had, so there are clusters in which people frequently gone vanish. So those clusters of locations are actually the portals or warps that exist naturally in space. So I think this book actually matches or explains some of the natural phenomena that people always wonder about. Interestingly enough, this book also gives a story in which I was able to verify later about a boy who was going to get water from a well in the backyard of his house during a snowy day. And he actually vanished. And his family members were looking for this boy, and they were following his footsteps. And the footsteps stopped in the middle of nowhere because they were snowing, and they could see the snow and something like that. And so this book actually explained that he was sucked into this parallel universe. And then I was able to track down the newspaper story that was reported in the 1800s. It's actually in the east coast of the U.S. Is the story, the case of Charles Ashmore that people can search on the internet. And according to the news story, his family members heard the voice of Charles Ashmore, like pendulous swing by in the mid of the air in space. And the voice became fainter and fainter until they couldn't hear the voice anymore. So that actually matches description of a parallel universe in the book.
Okay. And so do we know what sort of how far they traveled in space? It was to the other side of the galaxy.
Yeah,
right?
they travel at the speed of a few times faster than the speed of light. They, according to the author, told him that they have to travel into deep space, and then teleport themselves into another location in deep space, and then travel at a speed faster than the speed of light to their destination. They have to do the teleportation in deep space because for some reason, if they did it elsewhere, their spaceship would have been exploded for some reason or another, not understandable by the author. Remember, the author didn't have a lot of education, so he didn't really elaborate. I don't know. I was able to ask him a lot of questions, but he didn't give me an answer because he didn't know.
Yeah. So he goes to this paradise-like planet, and then what is he doing there for 10 days? Or was he traveling for some of those days back and forth? And how long was he supposedly on this planet? And
He spent about 9 days on the planet. They led him to visit their planet, like the trees and the lakes, and the planet is very beautiful. He describes it as the golden planet, having very strong and vibrant colors. He actually had to wear facial masks, like sunglasses, to filter out the strong colors and lights on the planet. And the people there
but it was an
were
Earth-like planet otherwise, or one
is,
sun, two suns?
um, I don't remember whether it has one sun or two suns, but it's actually a planet in which kind of similar to Earth, but the gravity on the planet is less than that of Earth. And they told him all the stories about where we came about the different races of people and the Hebrews as well, and
Now, in the
how.
book, it says, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. We have a little bit of a delay, so I apologize. In the book, it says that they come to Earth and take somebody from Earth to their planet once every 100 years or something like that. What is their purpose? What was their purpose for taking this? Because here's the thing. Sometimes I just think of Occam's razor. Like, if you were an alien species and you wanted to teach Earthlings about your culture, would you take this uneducated man who has no education or scientific base? Like, wouldn't it make more sense for them to come and take like a very well-educated astronomer with them, or like a physicist or somebody, some man of science, and then send him back? It just,
Yeah, Michelle.
because a lot of these people that are contactees, they make themselves seem out to be like some kind of a hero of the story, and it doesn't make sense. It's like, why would aliens pick Billy Meyer? Or why would they pick Corey Goode to be the Earth's galactic ambassador? You know, it seems like far-fetched.
Yeah, Michelle actually was picked for three reasons. One was that he was a man of action. He took immediate action for whatever he did. And the second reason is that he didn't have any preconceived notions or belief systems. He was just a farmer, landscaper in Australia who didn't have a lot of education. So he was just like a blank piece of paper to write on. They believed that he would be able to report truthfully what he saw, heard, and witnessed and experienced. If they took like a journalist or maybe like a politician or physicist, they're afraid that they're going to the messages are going to be distorted. And there's another reason, which is the most important reason for them to choose Michel Desmarquet, was that Michel had 80 past lives already. According to them, only people like him could survive for 9 days on the planet. Otherwise, people like me, and I would be only survive for maybe 3 or 4 days because I didn't have enough reincarnations in the past. I mean, previously.
Well, isn't it kind of also convenient that these people looked like humans but 10 feet tall, which would have to mean that they had a very similar evolutionary path that we had, physically anyway, you know, not culturally or spiritually. I suppose they're supposed to be more advanced technologically, spiritually, more spiritually evolved. But, you know, the dials of the universe, it just doesn't sit well with me that they look like us, except they were 10 feet tall and very beautiful. Because if they evolved on a totally different star system with less gravity, you would think there would be some major differences in anatomy between the alien and human beings. Why so similar?
That's why they're taller than us, according to them. And actually, on the planet, Michelle saw at least 147 different species of ETs displayed to him, and they're all like looked very differently. Some of them have like snake-like skins. Some of them
Like
have
reptilians, huh?
kind of
Ooh.
like that, but not
Did
exactly.
you know David Wilcox said the reptilian aliens butt banged him?
I don't believe
Yeah,
in what he
they're
said.
bad. They're bad.
I don't believe in him. I don't believe anything Wilcox said.
Oh, did you know that he's been playing this game with me for several years now because I cover him and we make fun of him, and he said that I got him swatted by the police and that I stole money out of his bank account and all these other things, and that I'm a terrorist because he doesn't like somebody making fun of him. But we got the body cam footage and showed that nobody swatted him. Like, he just made that up. He's a total liar, that guy.
I'm glad you told me this because I really didn't believe what he said about the reptilians.
Well, according to him, he got butt banged by not just reptilians, but by gray aliens also raped him. So I shouldn't use that word.
I mean, to tell the truth,
Essayed him.
yeah. I mean, gray aliens exist, but they're not that bad at all.
They're not that bad? How do you know, though?
Michelle told in a public lecture that the Greys did put implants on 150 people or so on Earth, but there are there's no need to worry about anything like that. I mean,
so while he's there, what is he doing there? They're just telling them about their culture and teaching him about Earth history that they're aware of and their interventions. That's the other thing. It seemed very convenient that this alien species was so deeply involved in human affairs.
Yes, this gets very interesting because according to this book, they were responsible for the destructions of the two cities, Sodom and Gomorrah. They actually led Moses out of Egypt, parting the sea, helping Hebrews to
again replacing God with aliens, though.
Yes. So they have intervened from time to time just to help us to be more spiritual in nature. So they took Michel to their planet just to ask him to write a book so that we can learn from the book in order to be more spiritual and to learn about the basic principles of life and reincarnation and the dangers on Earth. By the way, the book can be found free of charge online. If you
I found it free. Yeah,
yes,
I found it free.
don't
And
buy it.
here's one of the things that I will say. When somebody is profiting from the story, I'm more skeptical. But this guy has been giving this book away since he wrote it, right? I mean, he sold it for a while too, but now you can get it online for free, and there's places you can do that. So, is his sort of mission just to tell the story that the aliens wanted him to tell? So that's why the book's free, and he's not really he is not striking me as a grifter because, or a con artist or a UFO profiteer, because if he was, and he's also he hasn't written like more books, right? Because usually like these guys, they write the one book. Like Whitley Strieber's a great example. He wrote the one book. He made a ton of money off of that. He got a Hollywood movie deal out of the first book. He immediately wrote another book and sold another book. And suddenly he remembered more about the aliens and had more alien experiences. So it sort of attacks his credibility. It's like, oh, every time you need money, you write another book. This guy that you're talking about hasn't done that. He hasn't really cashed in. So that's one of the reasons I was willing to talk to you about all this, because I go, well, at least he's not a UFO profiteer here, right?
Right. And I don't get anything out of it either. I spend time to tell people about the text and the messages in the book, but I hope people can learn from it. But he actually did write two other novels that are kind of, people can find on Amazon, but those novels are not recommended by me to read because those are just fictional stories. This book is a little bit different. People can get it for free, and I think the reason is that this is a modern version of the Book of Enoch. I would encourage people to think about this. Enoch was taken by God or the Jehovah's, and then there's a Book of Enoch. 40 to 80 years later, his great-grandson Noah was told to build an ark.
I'm a big fan of the Book of Enoch, by the way. I'm a big fan of it because if you grew up with the Bible and even having access to I had access to very good priests and brothers and nuns and sisters and monks even, and Franciscan monks, and I had great religious teachers, but the Bible still leaves a lot to be desired, and there's still questions. And to me, the apocryphal books like the Gospel of Thomas or the Book of Enoch that were left out of the Bible sort of fill in some of the blanks. And you're right. I guess this would be a similar story to the Book of Enoch, because some advanced being, gods, whatever, took him to another dimension, Enoch, and he got to learn about different mysteries and, the angels and the Nephilim and demons. And I guess this guy had a similar kind of experience and as far as some advanced beings came to him and they took him to another place, another realm, I suppose, and tried to educate him, right?
Yes. And the reason for him to write a book is to warn us the dangers on Earth so that we can make the right choices in the future, so that we don't have a catastrophic result or end. This is kind of like I don't want to put it as the end of the world, but I think we determine our future, so we can make the right choices, so we can have a better future. So, people predict certain things going to happen, like in a certain year or something. Don't believe in that, because we determine our fate, and I think the future is changeable by our collective actions, and maybe certain things are destined to happen, like earthquakes or certain things, but by and large, we do have free will to make great positive impacts for the future.
Well, I think that depends a lot on your situation, though, wouldn't it? Because, like, I I don't know. I was just thinking about living in communist China. Like you have a little bit less choice to make a difference, right? Because you don't have the freedoms that we here enjoy in the United States, right?
Yeah, actually, this book to me is very interesting that it got published in China as a science fiction because it actually tells people in China how to work against a dictatorship government.
Ooh.
So in the book, it explains how the poor people united together and actually changed the totalitarian regime to a more democratic government.
People are waiting for me to start yelling at you in the live chat. No, I'm not going to start yelling at them. Yeah, we're having a good conversation. I'm trying to build bridges instead of burn them. So, and one of my new things is to be more like open to other people's belief systems. So let's get to this though. So you read this book, and at first you're not convinced, but then you decide to go meet the author. So tell us about that, and what was it about this guy, Michel Desmarquet? I hope I'm saying that right. What was it about Michel that made you so convinced that he was honest and this really happened to him? And what was it that convinced you so? Because you seem thoroughly convinced that this really happened to him, and that the information in the book is good information. What got you so convinced after meeting him?
First of all, he didn't really profit from the book, and second of all, he had a divorce after he came back, supposedly from the planet Thioouba. He was having a hard time adjusting to the life on Earth. He didn't want to come back at all because it's just like a paradise that he had experienced on the planet. He had a divorce and he had to move to a southern island in Vietnam called Phu Quoc Island. That's where I met him. He was a very kind of cynical person, actually. He wasn't really friendly to me in the very beginning. When he found out that I was there for this book, he was really kind of annoyed at me. And actually, the reason for me looking for him was not just to talk to him. It was for me to find out what else he knew but couldn't write in the book. Because if you read the postscript, it says there are far more incredible things that he learned and knew, but he was not allowed to write in the book because we were far from understanding them. I wanted to find out more. That's the reason I wanted to talk to him in person. So he, after a few days of ignoring me and just kind of downplaying the importance of the book, he showed me a contract that he signed with a publisher in China. And he wanted me to follow up with the publisher because even though they paid him $2,000 copyright fee, he never heard back from them again. It turned out that they decided not to get the book published in China because of the fear of censorship. And then my opportunity came, and he asked me to find a different publisher. So I did, and got it published in China as a science fiction, and in Taiwan as a nonfiction.
In Taiwan, it's nonfiction. That's interesting. Yes. Yeah, but in China, they published it as science fiction.
Yes.
If you had this and it was a real experience, wouldn't that be like kind of a cave-in to go, okay, we'll just say it's fiction to get it published? I don't know.
When I was trying to get the book published in China as a nonfiction, they couldn't find a category to get it published or to put it under. There's no category like spirituality or religion or something like that.
Yeah, because the Chinese Communist Party is not very pro-religion, right?
Right. So the only way to get it published was as a nonfiction, as a fiction, as a science fiction.
Okay. Yeah, well, I guess that makes sense. So you get him a new publisher, or you're involved in the translation of the book because you're actually very good at translation.
Yeah, I had to get a different publisher through personal connections. And I didn't do the translation on my own. I had a translator who is better than me to do the work because she has better Chinese language skills than I do.
Well, then plus though, isn't that a real challenge because there's Cantonese and there's Mandarin and other dialects, right, in China that are so
Yes.
you can't just translate it from English to Chinese. There's also the problem of the different Chinese dialects because Cantonese and Mandarin are pretty different, right?
I mean, those are the colloquial languages that are very different. Cantonese speakers do not understand Mandarin speakers if they don't know Mandarin. But in writing, in the written language, we all read the same way. But
what is the most common? What is the most common dialect spoken in China?
Mandarin in the spoken
Mandarin.
language. Yes.
Okay.
But it's translated into simplified Chinese in China. But the difficulty lies in the language because this book contains a lot of words that really don't exist in the Chinese language, and really don't exist in the English language either.
So you got to come up with 3 or 4 words to replace one, or I would think that would be a pretty difficult translation job then.
Yes, if you see the descriptions of the colors, you're going to see that there are different colors in which there are no descriptions in the English language or the Chinese language at all. So we have to make out words.
Okay. So, but I was trying to focus on what was it that made you so certain that this guy's story was real?
The details. For example, when he describes that he entered in the spacecraft, they use yellow light and blue light to disinfect him. And if you do research, you're going to find that Harvard Medical School has a research paper about the antibacterial, antiviral effects of certain wavelengths of blue light. And also, there are also a research paper on the antibacterial effect of yellow light. So they used yellow light and blue light to disinfect him, indicating that the ETs knew about this kind of technology using colors. And Michel Desmarquet, as a farmer, a landscaper, he couldn't have known about the effects of yellow light and blue light. And also other details include plate tectonics, the drifting or shifting of continents over time. So if you read this book, you're going to see that it describes in the past where like Australia was connected to New Zealand and Antarctica had a mild climate because it was closer to the southern area near Australia or New Zealand than where it is nowadays in the South Pole. So it actually incorporates a lot of theories or hypotheses of science into this book. And also it makes a lot of logical sense when it talks about where the asteroid struck Earth in the ancient past. One of the parts actually landed in what's now today's Galapagos Islands. So if you know about Galapagos Islands of Ecuador, you're going to realize a lot of scientists have hypotheses that the asteroid hit where the islands are nowadays that caused the layouts of the islands of Galapagos. And also there are other details such as why this gets a little sensitive. I hope you can allow me to elaborate a little bit more. Why in the Old Testament, in the Bible, the Hebrews lived longer lives in the past, like 900 years old or
there's several accounts. Yeah, there's several accounts of people living hundreds of years.
Yes, and also why the Jewish people are so good at the things that they do. Like if you do the calculation.
Oh, that's kind of racist, though, right? like banking and finance and law.
I know.
Right? It is. Listen, it's stereotypical, but here's what I will say: if I have financial or legal problems, I would prefer a Jewish person to help me. You know what I mean? That's just kind of the way it is. Dave, with the kind of generous £2, says, "Can you ask him what the book got wrong?" And also, I want to take a moment to thank Chill Station 7, who gifted a sub over on kick.com. Thank you both guys for the support. Big support tonight. Thank you. So did the book get some things wrong that you noticed?
I would say information that's against conventional scientific beliefs. For example, the book talks about the moon moving closer to Earth each day, not farther away, as what modern scientists believe. And I think that's against the conventional scientific wisdom. This has to be proven by time. It is something that's very uncomfortable for a lot of people to talk about. If there's a possibility that the moon is moving closer to us or farther away from us. And that's one thing about the book. Also, the book talks about certain facts about the different races of people, like the Hebrews or the Jewish people, that some people may not believe it. I was going to continue my elaboration. Is that?
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry to get you off track there. Yeah.
So Jewish people only account for less than 0.3% of the population, and yet they account for 22% of all the Nobel Prize winners, Nobel laureates.
You're right. Yeah, they're very good at science and mathematics. Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, as explained by this in this book, and why there were the chosen people. And there's a reason for that. And so why they're so kind of difficult in their journeys living on Earth. They're always being persecuted by people who are jealous of them, but yet they're the chosen people by, at least according to the Bible.
I never understood why God would favor one, like why not the Africans? Why not the Asians? Why not the Europeans? Why did God choose these people, the Israelites, as the so-called, his people?
Yes.
And this book, this book explains that, which is, again, makes me nervous. Like, okay, so now we get a mystery that I'm sure many people have wondered about. And we get an answer for that mystery. And what is it? Why would God choose them over everyone else?
Well, it's going to take maybe 2 minutes to explain.
Sure.
First of all, we are living on a very low level or category of planet in the universe. So there are different categories of planets in the universe, like category 1, category 2, and up to category 9, where the Thioubans, the ETs, come from. In this book, come from. So we all came from different planets originally. We all came from, like the blacks, the yellows, the Caucasians, all came from category 1 planet originally. So we have to migrate to a different planet, like Earth, a category 1 planet, to continue to survive on Earth. But the Hebrews came here accidentally from a different category of planet. That's of a higher category.
But wouldn't there be genetic markers that would be different between Israeli people and everybody else then, that would be scientifically provable?
If you do research, you're going to find out that Jewish people have unique genetic makeups and diseases that they have.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess that kind of explains it, but it's kind of a weird thing, right? Then Jewish people came from a different kind of a planetary system than us. They didn't originate. So this alien race is saying that humans didn't originate on Earth? Evolve and originate?
We didn't evolve from apes or gorillas. We actually were created by the Creator, and we used to live on different planets originally. But when the planets kind of cooled down or died, for that matter, Mars is a dead planet, and we have to migrate to a younger, more lively planet in which the core is hot and can have the electronic magnetic forces to capture the atmosphere so that we can have oxygen to breathe on. So this is the reason why we have to migrate to a younger planet like Earth originally. And so this is the explanation given in this book, in which I find it to be more convincing than the theory that we're evolved from Homo sapiens or gorillas.
You know, I as Christian as I was raised, I still always believed in evolution, mostly. You know, I know there are missing pieces of the puzzle, but it seems like we do have some scientific evidence of sort of a, you know, evolutionary path from apes to ape-like humans, in between human and ape, and then a little more human until we get to more modern humans like, you know, Homo sapiens and Cro-Magnons and things. You don't believe evolution is real?
Well, evolution happens, but we are not from the evolutions of apes or gorillas. We are created by the creator or God, a pure spirit. So we do, the different species do evolve over time, but not to the point that
They change to a whole nother species. Yeah, I've heard that kind of argument before, I suppose. And we have Troll with a very good question. Ask him about the giants of the Old Testament. Does this book talk about I don't recall, does it talk about giants of the Old Testament or the Nephilim or that kind of stuff?
Well, it really doesn't say anything about the Nephilims or the giants.
Okay. Well, thank you, Troll, for the support and the question.
Yeah. But the ETs themselves are giants. They're hermaphrodites too, meaning that they have both male and female sexual organs. So
the aliens were actually neither male nor female.
That's right. They appear to be females.
But they're hermaphrodites. They have both sex organs. And I remember just reading this earlier today, but what was the reason that they gave for why they were hermaphroditic?
Because they're highly evolved beings, so they can control birth on their own. So they can actually have a baby born out of their own kind of decision. They don't have to rely on a partner.
That's kind of weird, though. Do they bang themselves? Or like,
Yeah,
I don't.
they do.
And I don't know if you're aware, but there's a lot of Christian mythology about angels and demons that basically says the same thing. They're hermaphroditic. They're either both or they're not. They don't have a sex.
Right. But they look very sexy. So this is why when I think about the Old Testament of the Bible.
Well, until you get to the cock, then you're going to be like, whoa, buddy, right? So their appearance then is like typical Nordic, you know, blonde hair, blue-eyed, beautiful.
So they are Nordic looking.
Okay.
They have very sexy breasts too. Their eyes are very light.
I'm sorry, I'm still thinking about a hot chick with nice breasts and a cock, and that's kind of the cock kills it for me, Samuel Chong. I can't, you know, no matter how hot she is.
It does. So this is why, I mean, when I think about the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, and when in the Bible it says they commit sodomy, and they all wanted to have sex with the angels of God. The angels appear to be like women. If the angels are the Thioubans from this book,
or sometimes they're described as androgynous, which would mean you're not quite sure. You look at them and you go, that's a very feminine looking man or a very masculine looking woman, you know? And if you look at the depictions of the angels in art and culture, you know, like I have a big painting of Archangel Michael, and in the painting, you're not sure when you look at it, is it a man or a woman? It's kind of both. Yeah.
But the ETs do appear to be very feminine according to Michelle, and they speak with a very kind of attractive voice as well.
So they look like a chick, they talk like a chick, but they got a cock still. So
Yeah.
there's that. Yeah. And we have a good question from Echo, who I guess disagrees with your take on evolution and wants you to, can you explain our genetic similarities with primates? Because, like, for example, we're 98% same DNA as chimpanzees. Thank you for the support, Echo. Much appreciated.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the genetic makeups of different species, we all do have a lot of similarities. If you compare like human beings and mice, there are a lot of genetic makeups that are the same. But I think we are unique in a way, not in the genetic aspect, but in the spiritual aspect, in which we have our astral body. I don't know if you know people who can see ghosts or auras. And
well, I know people who can claim to, but I don't know that I believe them. But yeah,
yeah. I do study like human energy fields. Like there are cameras
like that.
Yeah, I mean, not the aura camera, but there's a different kind of aura device, aura reading device that can actually capture the energy field of human body and fingers, and I think
Kirlian photography. You mean? I think it's called Kirlian photography. I've seen some.
Yes, of that. Yes, but also there's a GTV device. People can do some research on.
Yeah, and I don't know. Genetics is confusing to me because I can't say, okay, so we share 98% of our genetics with chimpanzees, but we also share 50% of our genetics with a banana. You can look that up. Like human DNA and banana DNA is 50% similar. So I don't know if the similarity is an argument against evolution, because why are we so similar to banana DNA,
Yeah. And compared to mice or dogs, and we do have a lot of similar DNA makeups.
Yeah. So, but why do you think then, if you don't believe evolution is real and we were created as a separate species, why would the chimps be so close to us, within 2% of us? I mean, I guess that's a big shift. 2%, we have bigger brains and all that, but why would we be so similar to chimps or gorillas or orangutans?
I think I don't have an answer to that. I have to say I don't know. I'm not an expert in this area.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. So he gets all this sort of like filling in the blanks of human knowledge and different mysteries, and they tell him that they've intervened in human affairs for, I guess, thousands of years, and then they just take him back and say, go tell everybody what happened to you. Is that the gist of it?
Yes. And I think this is the reason why there's a book of Enoch for us to read. And this is the modern version, just trying to give us warnings, what we need to do to change the course of future for the better. Because I don't know if you realize that we have been doped by the politicians and in a monetary system in which people believe that the either party is probably better than the other, but in fact, there's a group of people who run things behind the scenes, manipulating both party leaders. And I actually have firsthand experience on that.
It's nice of them to intervene with human affairs. Why do they care, Mr. Chong? Why do they care about the human species?
It's a very good question.
Do they do that to other species as well? Have they intervened with other species?
They do. They care because it's their role to guide us as our mentors. to lead us into the spiritual path, not into a materialistic world in which the result is going to be a nuclear war or kind of a catastrophic event. Because if you really think about it, if people become more materialistic, they're going to envy each other for their wealth. So this is why a lot of people are so jealous or envy the wealth of the Jewish people. And so since we're all created by the same creator, the key is about love and spirituality. And I think it's important for people to realize that this is exactly what Christ taught us.
Well, that's true. But, I guess one of the problems that I have with the book, too, is if I were to go and visit a super advanced species, did the thought not occur to him to ask for something for humanity, like a cancer cure or like secret to immortality that these people seem to have or have the capability of?
Well, the book actually is so interesting because it explains questions like this. Because we all have lessons to learn in this lifetime, whether through responding to a health crisis like cancer or unfortunate event. It's through the unfortunate event, through the challenges that we all face, that we learn different spiritual lessons. And he actually saw his past lives already in astral form. And once he was a German miner, like a mining worker. Once he was a Japanese goldsmith. He was an African boy who was eaten by a lion. And then he was, in another lifetime, a queen on a different planet, ruling a third of the planet. So we have different roles to play in each of our lifetime. And we do learn the different lessons by responding to the challenges that we all face in our lifetime. So this is the essence of life. And we don't have to envy the super wealthy like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates because they have their own lessons to learn as the super wealthy.
Well, I'm fine with the super wealthy as long as they do good things, but I'm more of a fan of Musk than Bezos for sure. Because, I've known people that had to work in Amazon warehouses under terrible conditions. And we've heard the stories where people can't even piss. They have to piss in a bottle because the time, like that. If you got that much money, let your employees stop and take a piss, I don't know. So, but the point of the point that the aliens had is sort of Christian in nature, in that we got to love each other and love and light, and we should spend our time developing ourselves spiritually and not worry so much about technologically or financial things. Isn't that right? That's kind of the gist of what they wanted him to
yes,
come back and teach others.
And they want us to help ourselves because that's the way to learn more effectively. For example, if you want to teach your son a mathematical problem, you wouldn't just give him the answer directly. You would give him some hints and
show him how to do it. Yeah, show him how to get to that.
Yeah,
so that he can. Sam Corbin with with more great support says, "Love your name. What is your viewpoint on reincarnation?" And we'll add to that, what did these aliens say about reincarnation? Because I recall that from the book.
Yes, there are reincarnations. And for people who want to research, they can read the works of Dr. Ian Stevenson, a medical doctor in New York. Yeah, who studied about 300 children who remember their past lives. And according to the ETs, we all evolve through the different reincarnations. So the different past lives or different lifetimes that we experience are just like different positions on a wheel. What goes up has to come down. So we have to experience everything. So in one lifetime, we may be the poorest person on the street, a beggar. On a different lifetime, we may experience what's like to
I hope that reincarnation is real, because I agree with you. I don't think that one lifetime is enough to get the whole human experience, right? Like, what is it like to be a woman? I don't really know. I mean, I know women in my life that could kind of inform me of what it's like to be a woman, but it would be a different experience to live a whole lifetime as a woman. Yeah. And then you're right. Like, some people are very blessed. Like, maybe they're born into a rich family, or maybe they were given a lot of opportunities for education and personal advancement that other people didn't get. So it'd be interesting to live both, as you're right. Like, it'd be interesting to see what is it like to struggle through life as a poor person, barely making ends meet. That would be a totally different human experience than somebody born into a rich family being given great opportunities and great financial, resources that'd be a different life.
Yeah. And what happens is that when a person passes, the astral body leaves the physical body, and there's going to be a life reveal process in which everything he did in his lifetime will be shown to him holographically, and he will be able to feel and experience all the feelings of the others in which he did certain things onto the others. So it's like a omnipotent experience in which he is able to feel the feelings of others when certain things happened. And then this evaluation process will continue until he decides what kind of spiritual lessons in the next lifetime. And then when everything is decided, the memory is erased because, sometimes it's not erased completely. This is why some children remember their past lives.
There's some creepy cases of that. There's definitely some creepy cases of that. And Echo, thank you for the support. And this is a good question. It's something that I've often wondered about. Why are these angels and gods anthropomorphic or human-like? Why are they always so close to humans?
This is a very good question. I have this question on my own, but I didn't get the opportunity to ask the author when he was alive. We all are human beings on this planet Earth, and we all look alike. When on the planet Thioouba, he saw different species of ETs. Some of those looked like us. Some of those looked a little bit differently, but it seems that we all have like brains. They all have eyes. They all have arms or legs. They all look like a human-shaped beings, even though some of them have skin like snake-like skins. Some of them have 3 eyes. Some of them have like horns. But by and large, we all look like the same human species. This is the question I also have.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a good question. And we want to thank Charles McDonald, who just gifted 5 Truth Seekers memberships. And this, my friends, is why you got to hit that subscribe button, because if you're in the live chat and a kind and generous soul like Charles McDonald, the MVP of gifting these memberships and expanding our members here, when he gifts those, they get randomly distributed to people in the live chat, but you must be a subscriber in order to be eligible to win a free membership. So 5 people got a free membership. Thank you so much, Charles McDonald. Big support tonight. So you said that the author's no longer alive. Is that what you said? I wasn't aware of that. Okay.
That's right. He passed away.
Wow. And so you're just going around promoting his book still, which I guess is a good thing, Because
I know the one thing he didn't write in the book. It concerns our future. So this goes back to the original question: why am I working so hard doing this? Because I think the future can be changed.
Was there like an apocalyptic vision that he was shown, or something like that? Because that seems to be very common with some of these alien encounters. People are shown. Really. You hear these stories that people are shown like Earth, the end of the world, and you guys have to do something like clean up your environment is a common thing, or stop nuclear war. So what was the thing what was this that he left out of the book that you're aware of?
It's about different possibilities of future that we can create. But there's a time in which we have to turn in our exams, in which we have to be evaluated. And I think we can do a very good job getting 100% correct on the exam, or we can fail the exam. So this is why I'm encouraging people to really get to know the truth and to really learn what we need to do to improve ourselves in the future.
One question that occurred to me is, why would these aliens do this to get these messages to humanity? Wouldn't it be faster to just appear on the White House lawn and give like a book of information or computer files of information or something to somebody in power to distribute to the whole human race? It seems like these guys, these aliens, this is what makes me skeptical sometimes. Like, okay, so these aliens are so super advanced that they can transverse the whole galaxy in half a day. And, they have the ability to live forever or create new bodies, regenerate their old bodies. But they need to just basically borrow a human and tell them a bunch of stuff and say, go tell everybody. Wouldn't there be a better way to share their message with the whole planet than to do it this way?
There are several responses. One is that the politicians that we have now are so focused on different things to benefit certain groups of people. And the ETs believe that the power lies in the hands of the people. Great revolutions always come from the people at the grassroots level. And we can make great changes. And if you look at history, all the great revolutions come from the people, not from the politicians or the leaders. The leaders listen to the voice of the people if there are good leaders. And second reason is that it's not the time yet. I'm saying this because in the past, in ancient civilizations, the ETs did have frequent contacts with the people who were highly civilized and advanced on Earth. And it's just like if you go to a zoo, if you see two groups of gorillas fighting amongst themselves, you wouldn't want to invite them to your beautiful mansion so that they make a mess because they're not ready yet for to be invited.
I guess I've heard this argument before that we have to evolve or ascend first before we'll be on the same level as them.
At the same time, if we don't evolve by our free will, we all have our free will, if we don't evolve in a civilized manner, I think the future is going to be like what's documented in the ancient scriptures, just like Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah, I guess. And Echo, thank you for the support, says 57 different kinds of aliens, like Cliff Stone said. Isn't that Heinz ketchup, 57 varieties? I don't know. Echo. I didn't know Clifford Stone said. I was thinking Cliff High. Yeah, I know Cliff Stone then. Okay. Well, yeah, he said there was 57 kinds of aliens, but who knows how many there would be. Seems like a vast galactic ocean out there, and there should be thousands of different species.
I want to emphasize that there are far more than 147 ETs just in our Milky Way galaxy, because that's the least amount of ETs that the author saw. And the other ETs all kind of visit us, but they don't intervene or interfere with our activities because it's not their role to do so. They're just observers. And sometimes we do have sightings and encounters. But I want to say that the reason that we haven't been back to the moon for in the last 50 years was because we are warned out from the moon. They're preventing us from exploring the universe because we are not ready spiritually.
But is that really true? Because we've had Chinese landers on the moon. They were robotic. But pardon me?
Not astronauts landing on the moon.
Okay, so not people, but we've had unmanned missions and they didn't destroy those. So what, we're allowed to send robots, but not people?
Yes, I mean we can send robots or kind of space. I think there's one thing I want to mention is that when the Chinese took pictures on the far side of the moon, there's a delay of revealing the photos to the public. I don't know what they did, but it's very, very
Yeah,
interesting.
I don't believe most of the moon conspiracies, though, Mr. Chong, and here's why. The Soviet Union, the United States, and China all have orbiters.
Yeah.
They all have satellites around the moon that are imaging the moon. So when you hear these stories of like, oh, there's alien bases on the far side of the moon, no, we would see them. Either that or there's a grand conspiracy between China, Russia, and the United States to conceal that, but we've all got, each of those countries have a satellite that's imaged the entire moon. So I'm not a big believer of you can't go to the moon or there's alien bases, or I don't know, because that seems like a common UFO mythology
or
that I've heard many people say.
Yes, but what would be the reason that we haven't sent anyone back to the moon yet, despite the lower costs?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of space exploration, so I think we certainly should be there. Yeah. And if NASA followed their original plan, we would have already have a moon base and been to Mars by now. But they didn't follow their original plan after Apollo. They had a roadmap. They had the Apollo program to go to the moon. And then right after that, we were supposed to build sort of a moon base that would be manned, and it would be a launching pad to Mars. And then they would do the manned exploration of Mars, but they just lost, I think they lost, political will also. It was a big deal to beat the Soviet Union to the moon. And once we'd done that, it was kind of like, well, we already did it, so why go back? But yeah, the expense. And a lot of people don't know, but there was more Apollo rockets that were never used. So they could have continued the Apollo program, but they didn't. So maybe that's where some of the conspiracy thinking comes from, that we didn't go back for some other reason, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we should watch China to see if they're able to send any astronauts on the moon.
Well, I think Musk is going to get there soon, don't you?
I hope he does. I hope he's able to do that successfully. But Mars is actually a different story. It's a planet that's very difficult for people to survive on.
Yeah, I'm fascinated with Mars, and I'm hopeful that we will terraform Mars eventually, or at least have manned civilizations there, because I agree with Elon Musk. Like, a comet or a big asteroid could come along and destroy all of humanity. And if we are, what if we are the only conscious people in the solar system, and then a comet comes, or a big catastrophe comes and destroys humanity? We need to be a multi-planet species so that we have a better chance of long-term survival, right? And even just from the perspective of expanding humanity, being on Mars and having a whole different human culture on another planet, that's the as different as it is, it's the closest to Earth that we can eventually, hopefully, terraform. Do you know much about terraforming Mars and some of the plans that people have had? It seems like it would be possible, but it would take a few generations to make it habitable.
I think it will be very difficult for people to survive on Mars, even with the advancements of the technologies, because first of all, we have to make oxygen and to keep the oxygen into a certain kind of space for people to survive. And also we have to make a lot of things happen so that we can have our necessities ready. I think it's very difficult. It's a cold planet, first of all. And, but I do believe that there was life on Mars in the past.
It seems very clear that there was liquid water for sure, and that's a surefire sign of life. And many of the planetary scientists and astrophysicists and astronomers believe that there was some form of life and a more Earth-like environment and atmosphere. And it seems like they're finding signs of microbial life on Mars. So, yeah, I mean, who knows?
If you think about this, like if Mars was like Earth, like a million years ago, having or had life on the planet, then now it doesn't. Then it means that it's a dead planet already, transforming from a lively planet into a dead planet. If we go back to a dead planet, wouldn't it be like kind of trying to reverse what happened in the past?
Yeah.
Like, why don't we find like a younger planet, a planet younger than Earth that's easier to survive on?
Well, because there's none in nearby proximity. Mars is the closest, the closest thing that we could find ever. Nurse Mark says if we were seeded, then it was probably by some alien kids effing around who are probably still grounded to this day for the colossal mistake. Yeah, a lot of people think that the Earth was seeded with life, that it didn't naturally occur, or that there's, what is that called? Panspermia. But thank you for the support, Ever Nurse Mark. Much, much appreciated. So, so you're firm in your belief that this person had this genuine experience and went to other planet, saw these aliens. So this book has pretty profoundly changed your life, regardless of what other people believe about it, right? In what ways has it changed your life or your perspective on your human experience?
First of all, I didn't believe anything in the Bible until I read this book. And I didn't really took Jesus or Christ seriously before, and now I do. And second thing is the recent change. I started to meditate because I think it's actually suggested by the ETs in the book, because I think it really helps me to concentrate and clarify my mind. And
I think meditation is extremely beneficial. And I got into meditation many years ago, and I always say that some of my Christian friends think that it's a bad idea to get into like Buddhism or meditation or even yoga. Some people are against that. But I don't know. To me, I have a philosophy like Bruce Lee, Jeet Kune Do. He would take what is useful and he would discard the rest. So I don't have to believe all the facets of Buddhism. In fact, I have a hard time getting my mind around Buddhism because there's no emphasis on God in Buddhism, So meditation really changed you, and you were encouraged to do that from this book?
Yes. This book, the ETs say that if you want to be more spiritual, start to meditate.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how it could not be beneficial to meditate. Even on, like I really like the impermanence meditations because they kind of just ground me, They teach me that all things are not here forever, Everything changes and it helps to not hold on to things so strongly for me. And you're right, it helps me to concentrate and, but it's funny that it took a book by a guy that went to another planet for you to learn that meditation was good. Isn't meditation much more common in Chinese culture than American culture?
Well, the Qigong practitioners, they meditate quite a bit, but the younger Chinese in the modern days, they don't do that anymore. So to me, I'm more like a person who wanted to accumulate a lot of material wealth in the past. So I didn't really meditate at all in the past. But in China, I would say the people who meditate, they really meditate quite a bit. The people nowadays, they started to lose their ancient teachings or doctrines.
Or do you think that CCP has a lot to do with that? They
Yes.
kind of like clamp down on
Not just
it?
the CCP. In Taiwan, a lot of people don't meditate either. It's just the modern
The
society.
rat race culture
Yeah,
stops people from slowing down and doing that, I suppose. Or
that's right.
people don't have time for spirituality anymore. You know, everybody's so busy and rat racing around, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I guess just to close out, so you're gonna continue to be sort of an evangelist of this book. You believe so strongly in this, right?
Right. I think I'm going to try my best. The key is not about the book, it's about knowledge, the knowledge that people need to have in order to prepare for what's coming in the future so that they can make the right decisions. The key is to look inside for answers, to meditate or pray or do whatever you need just to really realize that you can connect to the creator directly without relying on intermediary agency like the church or politicians or the media. Just look inside for answers.
And I guess I would be remiss if I didn't ask though, like, what if this guy was just telling stories and this is all fake and none of this really happened to him? Does it matter to you if the end result was still so beneficial to you? Whether it's real or not matters? Or
Well, it really doesn't matter to me because I actually was able to investigate a lot of the things that I didn't know about, like the human energy field or the effects of different colors or the stories in the Bible, specifically meditation, because I think I knew about meditation before, but I didn't really took it seriously until recently.
okay. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate that you took the time to try to inform us about this book. And if you wouldn't mind sending me the link to where people can get the book for free, because people are asking me, I have it, but I could put it on a Google Drive and give it to my audience, but I don't know. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? If it's already somewhere else, I'd rather just
okay.
send them the link to it. And just so people are aware, it's not a very it's an interesting read. I'll say this, it's an interesting read, and it's 183 pages, and that's with a foreword and a postscript addition to it. So 183 pages is very, very doable. It's not like, do you ever read the Urantia book?
No, because I
It's
don't
tough
really.
to get through that thing. It's so long. It's so long. It's just so long. But this is a quick read, so maybe people will enjoy that. And I'd be happy to share taking the time to do this. And see, I didn't yell and scream at you or anything, Samuel Chong. So maybe some other people who are more on the believer side of things will be willing to come here and know that we'll be respectful. And even if we disagree, we can still learn something, right?
Yes, yes, I know. People have people should treat each other respectfully. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate your time. And maybe you could come on and talk about some other subjects that you're interested in the future.
Great, great. Thank
I'd
you.
like that. All right. And when I throw you out of here, you could just close down your browser tab and you're good to go.
Great,
So
thank
thank
you.
you, Mr. Samuel Chong. That was very interesting. You have a good evening.
You too.
All right. Bye bye. All right, friends. That was interesting. And I made it through without yelling and screaming at him. And why does everybody think I'm going to yell at the guests? Right. I did yell at Anjali, but that's because she was delusional, right? I don't know. I feel like this guy really truly believes in this book, but what gives me caution about this book is that it's kind of like the Urantia book. Look up the Urantia book. If you're a Christian or a Catholic, there's a lot of unanswered questions about Jesus and the Lucifer, the angels, the demons, our place in the universe, whether there's aliens, whether there's other civilizations, our ancient history. And the Urantia book is much like this book, in my opinion, in that it seems too good to be true, because it's like, hey, remember all those questions that you have about all those things that the Bible doesn't really delve deeply into or give you the answers for. Well, here's a book that gives you all the answers to all the questions that you may have had. This book is very similar. And also, from a religious perspective, we've seen time and time again that there is this sort of new age, I guess, sort of trend that is replacing God with aliens. So instead of God creating people, advanced extraterrestrial aliens tinkered with our DNA with pre-Homo sapien, hominids, and they created the human race. Or, for example, in this book, as we were talking about with Mr. Chong, God gave the Israelites manna when they were in the desert trying to find the promised land. And in this book, God didn't do that. These aliens created the manna and gave it to the Israelites. And God didn't destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. The aliens did. So I don't know how I feel about that. It's kind of like replacing God with aliens, just a little update, a little tweaking, right? Now that we've become such a more technology-focused, technology-based civilization, maybe we just want to replace the spiritual mystery of things like God and gods and angels and demons. Maybe we just want to replace that with something a little more believable, which is these super technologically advanced beings that also happen to be very much more spiritually advanced. Charlie Troll with one for the goal. You deserve a thumbs up for sticking your neck out and branching out. You definitely don't want to end up like DSP. I have no problem. And by the way, just thank you, Troll, and thank you for the. I didn't know how he would react to those praise the cash bumpers, so we haven't done them all night. But here you go, Troll.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Felt weird because the guy's so serious and he showed up in a suit and tie, and I don't want to be like, praise the cash, bitches, This is kind of a serious conversation. But the thing, thank you, Troll. And I agree with you. We don't want to end up like DSP. We want to be willing to try new things and constantly change things. This episode reminded me of old Art Bell conversations. Well, good. And I hope that we're going to be doing more of this. And I'd like to be able to show some of the true believers, look, we can have a good conversation. But here's what I will say on the record. And I don't think that I would have said this to his face, but we, kind of ran out the clock. Do I believe this gentleman went to some alien planet for 9 days? No. I think this is a story. And even though he didn't profit from it, Steve needs that money. He really, really do. You're goddamn right I do. He's still at the office. Show started at 4 p.m. Oh, you're right. Maybe he was still at his office. The guy's a lawyer, too, and so well educated. But thank you for that. So I don't know that I believe this story because for me, faith is not enough. And we hear a lot of different people will say something like I have a friend who's a huge fan of the Urantia book. He's the one who encouraged me to get one and start reading it. And I did, but every time I pick up that book, I can't get through the whole thing. But in any case, my friend would say something like, the book really resonated with me as true. I'm not okay with that. Like, just because and I feel like maybe Mr. Chong is a victim to this as well. Some people read the Law of One, and even though it's a channel work, there's absolutely no evidence or proof that it came from any divine source. Some people read it and it really rings true with them and it resonates as true with them and they believe it's true. But I'm a little more cautious. So I get this too good to be true feeling about the Urantia book and the Law of One and this book. All three of them are very similar in that somebody is saying, hey, all the questions, the unanswered questions that you have, all the mysteries of the universe that you've always wondered about, I have the answers, and here they are. That makes me very, very cautious. It's like the best thing that I could say is it's too good to be true, right? And I don't know. I don't know what to think about it, but this guy seems very genuine in his belief. If you believe something enough, your mind can make you think you see things that confirm your beliefs. Yeah, it kind of hypnotizes you. Yeah, that's another good. What's the alternative to believing? It's too good to be true. Yeah, I mean, he started off strong but kind of fell down. The law of none. Yes. So questions or comments for me, please put them in all capital letters. And we're going to check in with the Kick chat. I apologize. Just so everybody's aware, sometimes it's very difficult to do the interview and check in with everything. One moment. No, nothing to call out on Kick. We've only got Chill Station 7 for support on Kick tonight. Thank you, Chill Station 7, for your kindness, generosity, and support. Spooky, don't start your shit, man. Don't start your shit. Making me work. There will be a Kick exclusive show sometime this weekend. They are having trouble finding links between species. That is us and octopi. Of course, the easiest explanation would be to say aliens, laugh out loud, or gods, right? E.T. says, Steve, more shows like this, please. Oh, thank you, Ever Nurse Mark, for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. Much, much appreciated.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
All right. And E.T. says, more shows like this, please. Look, I'm willing to expand my horizons. And let's see, the reason that I knew that I would have a good conversation with him is because he's incredibly well-spoken and incredibly well-educated. And he speaks very eloquently about a variety of different subjects that I'm also interested in, like human evolution, reincarnation, life on other planets, UFOs, aliens. So find me some better guests and we'll do that. Oh, yeah. Somebody's trying to sell me. So what do you want? Less than $1,000 while streaming. Add me on Discord. No, thank you. We don't buy bots. You told me Saturday. I don't know. Listen, I have a cabin to build, and I don't know what's going on yet. I'm leaving for the cabin tomorrow night, though. Friday night kickdown. Could be Friday. Could be. For all I know, I might do 2 kick-only shows. If they're as well supported as that first one, I'm going to be doing a lot of kick. And I don't. What's the deal? If I only stream on Kick, I get huge support. But if I'm streaming on Kick and somewhere else, people are like, "Fuck him." Let the people on YouTube pay him, right? I don't know what this is about. Like, how does this work, right? What platforms does he stream on, guys? Currently, we're on Twitch, YouTube, and Kick.com. I think you're asking me. Yeah. They can't appear exactly as us because they have graves. What? What are you saying? So questions or comments for me, please put them on the live chat. You got to do a cabin stream like lolcow live. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm willing to do that. And I got the streaming set up at the cabin working. So is the fishing derby over? Troll. Yeah, and my son Xavier won. For those unaware, every year my family, my entire family and extended family, all the visitors to the cabin, we are all in a fishing derby or competition, and whoever catches the most fish for the whole summer season, no matter where, wins the tournament. And the last couple of years in a row, my youngest son Xavier has won. How many cabins are there? 2. Yeah, for Patty, I have the first cabin that I built. And about 3 miles away, I bought a big plot of a forest, like 7-8 acres. And I'm building a second cabin there right now. And I am furiously trying to finish that cabin, Miss Wilhelm, before the winter comes, because I would really like to spend some time in there over the winter. But I got walls to build, a wood stove to install, a floor to build, a roof to build. I try not to get discouraged. Here's what I will say. Every week I go there and the walls get a little bit higher. I guess all you can ask for sometimes is a little bit of progress. But the problem is I really don't like. I mean, I could just blame the local township. For a year, more than a year, I was fighting with them for the permits to be able to legally build the cabin there. And for a year, they strung me along, asked me for 8,000 pages of paperwork and plans and construction blueprints and fucking plot plans, architectural plans, all kinds of shit. The cabin should already be done. It's a very small cabin. It's like 14 by 16. But what are you going to do? Life is what happens while you're busy making plans. Drop the program and use common sense when thinking about gaps in the God story. Well, people will always try to fill in the blanks, I think. The dude seemed to try to answer the questions honestly. Yeah, and he's not selling the book. They're giving it away. So, coast to coast truth seekers. Yes, it's worse in Florida with all the building regulations. I've heard that. It was bad enough where I am. And it cost me $2,150 plus, no, $2,250 because I had to pay a friend of mine to do the plot plan. I had to pay $100 for that. So $2,250 in permits to build an 8x8 tool shed, a 4x4 outhouse, and a 14 by 16 cabin. That's kind of ridiculous. And I don't know why the webcam keeps going glitchy. It's kind of part of the aesthetic, right? I'm going to try to fix that before the next show, and I apologize. Using money stolen from Wilcox to live a life of luxury while he suffers. That is correct, right? Thoughts on the drone incursions in airports all over Europe? Well, I just think that drones are becoming so much more common, and the bigger ones, even really big drones, are becoming incredibly inexpensive. So I just think it's pranksters and stuff. I don't think it's anything to worry about, but we are all born with a God-shaped hole in our hearts. Louis Pascal. Well, that's interesting. Ray Gunner hates permits. Me too. It's the worst. $2,200. I could have bought a new computer. I could have bought all kinds of shit for my cabin. Like I could have bought a generator, a solar power system, batteries, all kinds of stuff I could have bought. Nope. Give it to the government so that they can fucking waste it, Those drones are dangerous in commercial airspace. I agree. $2,200 worth of permits is ridiculous. Well, the local township fucked me, and pardon me. I stood up to the local township who first said I was not allowed to build a cabin on that property. And I stood up to them and I said, you can't stop me. It's fucking state law. I'm building a cabin. You guys don't have more authority than the state government. And the state government says I can build a cabin there, a recreational cabin. So I filed my state recreational cabin affidavit, and then they had a meeting, the local township, and they decided they had no permit fee for a recreational cabin. They made the permit fee for the recreational cabin after I stood up to them $2,000. So I feel like this is retaliatory, and I can file a complaint with the state. I haven't yet, but I believe I'm going to do that, right? Evernurse Mark says, I have a drone story. This preceded the drones by like 9 or 10 months. They've been running back and forth from Dover Air Force Base for about a year because I drive at night. From 9 p.m. to 4:05 in the morning, I tried to alert authorities and nobody knew what I was talking about. 2 months later, it was all in the news. Yeah, those were test flights around that base. Operation Shutdown says retaliatory. Yeah, they're not allowed to fucking retaliate against you because you stood up for your rights. Legislative bullying, right? Get that $2,000 back. I intend to. I'm going to look into it next week. For anybody that knows me, paperwork is my kryptonite. Like when you make me fill out paperwork, I will become paralyzed. Like I hate, and every month I have to fill out a physical check for the old guy I bought the property off of. He will not take PayPal or Venmo or wire transfer. He's got to get every month I fight myself. Like it's the 8th. It doesn't have to be there till the 15th. I'm sure it'll make it. He's only in Amityville, New York, and I'm in Pennsylvania. But every month when I have to write that check, I like, oh my God, I got to sit down, write a check, address an envelope, go to the post office. It just, I don't know why, but that kind of stuff paralyzes me. So doing a bunch of paperwork to file a complaint against the local township. And by the way, they've already retaliated. I haven't decided if I'm going to do this. Do I want to get my money back? I think that I should be able to get my money back because I don't think they have the legal right to charge me a permit fee 10 times higher than a house permit fee. You could build a house for a $150 permit. Why is a recreational cabin $2,000 when those don't even require any inspections whatsoever? They can't justify the administrative expense to make the permit fee that high. Spooky says, oh no, I've been stricken with paperwork and my legs have ceased to function. That's what happens. I'm telling you, it's paralyzing. It's paralyzing to me to have to do paperwork. But, and like I said, I haven't decided, do I really want to fight with them more? I plan on building something like 6 or 7 more cabins at that property. So if I don't fight them now, over the long term, I'm going to have to pay them thousands and thousands of dollars in these permit fees. For what? They don't even inspect it when it's done. There's no building permit or there's no building codes. There's no inspections. So they can't justify that kind of expense, but we'll see. I haven't written a check in like 4 years. I have to write one every month now. No inspections. You answered your own question. Yeah, that's why they don't like it, because there's no inspections. It takes away all the power from them. Yep, I procrastinate. Yep, I just finished some paperwork stuff, and I just finished filling out the check for the land payment today. It'll be mailed tomorrow. I have a great relationship with that guy, though, because he's trying to sell me more property. So even if it's late, he's not going to really worry about it. He knows I'm good for it. And I think I'm 2 payments ahead of the mortgage. I've dumped extra every month. I don't just pay the minimum payment, throw them an extra 100, 200, whatever I have. I am not going to take 15 years to pay that shit back. Yeah. Truth Seekers compound where we can all make content. Yeah, that's what we're going to do there. We're going to get Starlink. We're going to be good. Spooky. Spooky's going to have, Spooky can have their own cabin there. You got to come and build it, though. I'm not building yours. I'm having a hard enough time building mine, right? So I think we had a good night tonight, friends, and people are saying they want to see more shows like that. So we will try to be kinder to the true believers. And, listen, I'm okay with somebody that is clearly not a UFO grifter who has a different belief system than me or promotes different beliefs than I believe in. I'm fine with that. I just don't like the scammers because they're taking advantage of vulnerable people who desperately want to believe or understand their own experience. This guy doesn't strike me like that, so I'm okay with him or people like him. It's right when people, do you know how many people message me that they want to come on my show because they're selling a book? No, you're not coming on my show just to sell a book. This guy wasn't selling a book. He was educating people about the book, right? So I think we've done our due diligence. I'm going to bounce on out of here. There will be at least one more show this week, but it may be a Kick.com exclusive show. So be sure to follow me on X or Twitter at Stephen Cambion. I'm checking in with the goal 9 of 20. Doesn't look like we're got 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left to get 11 super chats. Not going to happen. But hey, we thank you all for the support. Just no overtime tonight. The medbed scammers are unconscionable. Yeah, it's people like that I save my anger for. I'm not going to yell and scream at this guy. He's a nice guy. He just believes different things than me. Maybe that book really did resonate with him and he believes it to be true. there's no reason for me to be angry at him or mean at him about that, right? The goal says 50 minutes left. Yeah, but there's not 50 minutes left of the show. Spooky always wants me to work harder, right? Be sure to follow me on X or Twitter at Stephen Cambion. Be sure to visit our website, TruthSeekersShow.com. From there, you can get all the latest episodes, whether you want the audio or video version. And and also check out our Clips channel. Just go to Truth Seekers Clips on YouTube. Go there, subscribe, watch some videos. We're trying to get the watch time up. We got the subscribers to get it monetized. Now we need the watch time so that we could give Spooky a job, which I'd really like to do. I think we've already kind of come to terms. We're going to figure that out. But we have to have it monetized because Spooky does the best edits and needs to be paid. Michael Siebold, make it 10, Spooky. Make it 10 for Spooky. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. Much appreciated.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
All right, thank you, Michael Siebold, for the support. So I'm not sure when I'll be back. Follow me on Twitter. I will if we're doing a Kick.com only show this weekend, and there's a high likelihood that we're going to do that, at least one. I will announce it on Kick.com. You may also come to the channel because you get an alert that we're live. And if you come to YouTube and it says live on Kick, here's a link, then you know to go over to the Kick.com channel because we'll only be doing Kick exclusive stream. We're going to keep trying that and get people ready for the have you made playlists or has anyone? I'll play those all night. No, we're going to get there. We're going to do that. I'll do that next week. Evernurse Mark. There you go, homie. Thanks again, brother. Well, thank you for your kindness. Much appreciated. Evernurse Mark is turning into a big show supporter. Big ups to Evernurse Mark, and thanks for the support.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
All right. So I hope that we'll be doing a Kick.com exclusive show this weekend. I got to get something together for that. And I spent all last night after the show working on the Internet Insanity Circus show. It's kind of a comedy of what is keeping that show from airing because I set up the whole studio, had all the bumpers, the animated backgrounds, the logos, everything set up in the other software that we were using, EVMux. So I had to then go and set it up in StreamYard. But I'm happy to announce, look at that, the Internet Insanity Circus. I'm happy to announce that we got it together, and we'll be able to, technically, we can launch the show whenever I'm ready. Still a few things to finish. I have the last puppet drying on a workbench in the other room right now. Had to re-glue eyeballs and some other minor puppet surgery. But we've got the Internet Insanity Circus, all of the technical part loaded into StreamYard. So that was an obstacle that is now behind us now, I'm happy to say. So I will be announcing very, very soon. And I've decided I'm going to do the first Internet Insanity Circus show solo probably, and then we'll start bringing in the co-hosts. Eye of the Tiger, folks. Is that another one? Oh, look at that. Amber Geddon says permit recoup fund. Well, thank you for your kindness. Yes, we just need $1,995 more, Amber Geddon.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
Evernurse Mark says, Eye of the Tiger, folks. Thank you for your kindness.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
Knees and elbows. What? I don't know what that means. I used to sing my kid that song though, right? Knees, elbows, head, and toes, or something, right? Something like that. It rings a bell, Evernurse Mark.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
Thank you for your kindness, Evernurse Mark. Very generous of you. Successful puppet surgery is a good omen. Yes. Can we hit the goal 3 shows in a row? Hold on. How close are we? 14. All right. I will stick around. We'll try. We'll. Here we go. Let me read some from this book that we covered. I didn't do that. We can read some from the book. If you're interested, he's going to give me a link where you can download the book for free. 1 second here. Yeah, 3 nights in a row would be great. Let me present. Let me try to get it back. This will be a little dry, just me reading. Recent. I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, so this is the book. Oh, I don't have it actually showing on the screen because I'm stupid. 1 moment. Unplanned slop. Yes. Chill Station 7 says, unplanned slop fun. Well, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. See, I'm too easy to give up on the goal. I gotta be more like Darkside Phil and say, I'm not fucking leaving until you fuckers pony up the goal.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
Oh, yeah. Thioouba. I think it's pronounced Thioouba Prophesy. And by the way, I originally, when I put this up here, I marked it wrong. I spelled it wrong. And Spooky let me know it was spelled wrong in the title of tonight's video. And I was like, well, it's a fucking made up word. It's not my fault. Fucking made up fake words, right? Operation Shutdown says, I may download that book. Good. Michael Siebold, hearing the call of the goal. There is another one for the goal. Thank you for your kindness. That's a couple of them tonight, Michael Siebold. Thanks for appreciating us. We certainly appreciate
Raise the
you.
cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
God bless the goal, and God bless all you people helping us to hit the goal. Thank you, Michael Siebold. And now we have Evernurse Mark. Zong Isran. Pew, pew, pew. What the fuck? What?
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
All right, how close are we? 17, 3 to the goal. All right, I'm going to read this. Welcome to the slop portion of the show. One second. So it's Michael Desmarquet is the author of this. Thioouba Prophesy. And he first published it as Abduction to the Ninth Planet. Believing is not enough. You need to know. All right. So the preface here says, I've written this book as a result of orders received and which I have obeyed. So the aliens ordered him to write the book. Further is an account of events that happened to me personally. This I affirm. I imagine that, to some extent, this extraordinary story will appear to some readers as science fiction, a story entirely invented, but I do not have the imagination that such a fabrication would require. I don't think that's a very good convincer. Like, look, guys, I couldn't make this up. I'm not very imaginative. Come on. I don't know about that. This is not science fiction. The reader of good faith will be able to recognize the truth in the message I transmit from my new friends to the people of planet Earth. This message, in spite of numerous references to races or religions, reflects neither racial nor religious bias on behalf of the author. That's weird. So he had to say, like, I'm not a bigot. Thao and Michael in front of the Doko. So this was the spaceship that took him. It looks like a big egg. Wouldn't it have been better if you got like a real photo? That seems pretty basic. Here's me and the alien in front of the spaceship. I don't know about that. Thao. So the alien that contacted him was named Thao. Garaji with one for the goal to help motivate you to draw up checks every month. Yeah, thank you for your kindness, Garaji. Longtime show supporter, Garaji.
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
Thank you for your kindness. Thanks for being a great supporter, Garaji. And here we have Michael Siebold with another one. Isn't that 3 tonight? Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Michael
Raise the
Siebold.
cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
I gotta not give up so quick, because look at that, 20, and we hit the goal. And who, pray tell, was the person that put us over the goal line? That would be Maria CC. Thank you, Maria CC. You get the distinction of being the person that got us over the goal line. Great teamwork,
Raise the cash, raise the cash, raise the cash.
you for your kindness. See, I was willing to bounce out. I got to be more like Darkside Phil. Like, look, you fuckers, I ain't leaving until we get this money. Holy shit, praise the cash. That's 3 goals in a row, my friends. 3 goals in a row. Thank you all for your kindness, generosity, and support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. So I'll read a little bit of this as for the overtime since we hit the goal. I awoke suddenly, not knowing how long I had slept. I was completely awake, fresh and alert. I guess that's to stop people from saying this was all a dream. But good God, what time could it be? Lena was sleeping beside me, her fists closed, but then Lena always sleeps. I had no desire at all to go back to sleep, and besides, it was probably already 5 in the morning. I got up, made my way to the kitchen, and checked the clock. Only 12:30 a.m. It was unusual for me to wake up at such an hour. I took off my, I guess that means pajamas. It says pajamas. I took off my pajamas and dressed in trousers and a shirt. Why, I had no idea. Neither can I explain why. I went to my desk, took a sheet of paper, and watched myself write as if my hand had a mind of its own. My dear, I'll be away for about 10 days. Absolutely no need to worry. Well, nice of the aliens to like possess him and make him leave a note for his wife so she wasn't worried. Leaving the note by the telephone, I headed through the door and onto veranda. I avoided the table on which last night's chess game remained, with the white king still in checkmate, and silently opened the door leading to the garden. The night seemed to be suffused with a strange brightness which had nothing to do with the stars. Instinctively, I tried to recall what phase the moon was currently in, thinking that perhaps it was about to rise. Here in the northeast of Australia, where I live, the nights are generally quite clear. I descended the outside stairs and headed towards the pandanus. What's a pandanus? I don't know. Usually at this time of night, we would have a veritable concert from the frogs and crickets. Those churring sounds fill the night. Now, however, there was a heavy silence, and I wondered why. I had only walked a few steps when, quite suddenly, the color of the philodendrons changed. The wall, the house too, and the pandanus all were bathed in some kind of bluish light. The lawn seemed to undulate beneath my feet, and the ground beneath the pandanus waved also. The philodendrons distorted, and the wall of the house resembled a sheet floating in the wind. During one of his public lectures, the author used the words heat haze. Beginning to believe I was not well, I decided to turn to the house when at that precise moment, I felt myself lifted quite gently off the ground. I rose slowly at first, above the philodendrons, and then quicker until I saw the house becoming smaller and smaller below me. What is happening? I exclaimed in utter bewilderment. All is well now, Michelle. I think that's Michelle, not Michael, right? Michel would be Michelle. By then, I believed I was dreaming. Before me, a human being of impressive size, dressed in a one-piece suit and wearing a completely transparent helmet on her head, was looking at me, friendly and smiling. No, you are not dreaming, she said, answering the question in my mind. Yes, I replied, but it always happens this way in a dream, and in the end, you find you've fallen out of bed and have a lump on your forehead. She smiled. Further, I continued, you are speaking to me in French, in my native tongue. Yeah, that guy's name's probably Michel, if he's French. And yet, we are in Australia. I do speak English, you know. So do I. It has to be a dream, one of those stupid dreams, moreover. If not, though, what are you doing on my property? We are not on your property, but above it. Ah, it is a nightmare. You see, I was right. I'll pinch myself. I accompanied the words with the action. Ouch! She smiled again. Now you are satisfied, Michel? But if it's not a dream, why am I sitting on this rock? Who are those people over there dressed in the fashion of the last century? I was beginning to distinguish in the milky light people talking and at a slight distance, others moving around. And you, who are you? Why aren't you normal sized? I am a normal size, Michel. On my planet, we are all this size. But everything in good time, my dear friend. I hope you don't mind me calling you that. If we aren't good friends already, I'm sure we will be soon. She stood there in front of me, intelligence reflected in her smiling face and goodness emanating from her entire being. It would not be possible to meet anyone with whom I could feel more at ease. Of course, you may call me what you wish. And what is your name? My name is Thao. But first, I would like you to know once and for all that this is not a dream. Indeed, it is something quite different. For certain reasons, which will be explained to you later, you have been chosen to undertake a journey which very few earthlings have made, particularly in recent times. We are, you and I, at this moment in a universe which is parallel to that of the Earth. In order to admit you, as well as ourselves, we have made use of an airlock. At this instant, time has stopped for you, and you can remain here for 20 or 50 of your earthly years and then return as if you hadn't left. Your physical body would remain absolutely unchanged. But what are these people doing? They exist as well as can be expected, and you will learn later. The population density is very low. Death only occurs by suicide or accident. Time is suspended. There are men and women as well as some animals who are 30,000, 50,000, or even many more Earth years old. That part doesn't make sense. There are men as well as women. They're supposed to be hermaphroditic, so they're neither men nor women. That's a plot hole. But why are they here now, and why do you come to be here? Where were they born? On Earth. They are all here by accident. By accident? What do you mean? It's very simple. Have you heard of the Bermuda Triangle? I nodded. Well, quite simply, in this spot and in others less known, this parallel universe becomes confused with your universe, so there exists between them a natural warp. People, animals, or even objects. Okay, so those were earthlings she was calling men or women. That makes sense. No plot hole then. Or even objects finding themselves in the immediate vicinity of a warp are literally sucked into it. Thus, you can have, for example, an entire fleet of boats disappear in several seconds. Sometimes a person or persons can pass back into your universe after several hours, several days, or several years. More often, however, they never return. When a man does return and relates his experience, the vast majority of people don't believe him. And if he persists, he is assumed crazy. Most of the time, such a person recounts nothing at all, realizing how they will appear in the eyes of his peers. Sometimes, too, he returns amnesiac. And if he recovers some memory, it is not of what happened in the parallel universe and therefore sheds no light on the subject. There was, Thal continues, a typical case of this passage into a parallel universe in North America, where a young man literally vanished while going to fetch water from a well, which was situated several hundred meters from his house. About an hour later, family and friends set out to search for him, and there had been a fresh snowfall of about 20 centimeters. It should have been quite simple. They had only to follow the footprints left by the young man, but right in the middle of the field, the footprints stopped. There were no trees around, no rocks on which he could have jumped. Nothing strange or unusual. The footprints just stopped. Some people believe that he had been taken by a spacecraft, but that could not have been, and you will see later. This poor man had quite simply been sucked into the parallel universe. I remember, I said. I did hear of that particular case, but how do you know all about it? You will find out later how I know, she replied enigmatically. We were interrupted by the sudden appearance of a group of people so bizarre that again I wondered if this was all a dream. About a dozen men, accompanied by what seemed to be a woman, emerging from behind a pile of rocks 100 meters from where we were. The light was even stranger, since these human beings appeared to have stepped out of the pages of prehistoric records. With gait of gorillas, they brandished enormous clubs, which modern man would not have been able to lift from the ground. These hideous creatures were coming straight for us, howling like wild beasts. I made a move to retreat, but my companion told me there was nothing to fear and that I should stay still. She put her hand on the buckle of her belt and turned so that she faced them. I heard a series of small clicks, and 5 of the strongest looking men fell to the ground, motionless. Oh shit, the alien fucked up the 8 men. This is getting good. The rest of the group stopped cleanly and began moaning. They prostrated themselves before us. I looked again at Thal. She stood like a statue, her face set. Her eyes were fixed on those people as though she was trying to hypnotize them. I later learned that she was giving orders by telepathy to the female of the group. Suddenly, this woman got up and began, it seemed to me, to issue orders in a guttural voice to the others. Then they helped remove the bodies, carrying them on their backs to the pile of rocks mentioned earlier. What are they doing? I asked. They will cover their dead with stones. Did you kill them? I had to. Oh shit, the alien bitch killed the 8 men. What do you mean? We were really in danger? Of course we were. These are people who have been here for 10 or 15,000 years. Who knows? We don't have time to establish that. And besides, it is of no importance. Nevertheless, this is a problem for me. You're so spiritually advanced, but you just massacred a bunch of 8 men? Don't you care about murdering people? I don't know. Nevertheless, it illustrates well what I was explaining to you a few moments ago. These people passed into this universe at a certain time, and they have lived in that time ever since. It's frightful. I agree. However, it is a part of natural, or it should have been a part of nature, and therefore part of natural and therefore universal law. Furthermore, they are dangerous because they behave like wild beasts, more like wild beasts than human beings. Dialogue would not have been possible between them and us, just as it is not possible between them and most of the others living in this parallel universe. For one thing, they are unable to communicate, and for another, they, less than anyone, understand what has happened to them. We were in real danger, and if I do say so, I have done them the favor just now, liberating them. Liberating? Don't look so shocked, Michelle. You know quite well what I mean by that. They are liberated from their physical bodies and now able to continue their cycle, like every living being, according to the normal process. So, if I understand correctly, this parallel universe is a curse, a kind of hell or purgatory. I didn't realize you were religious. I just had to make this comparison to show you that I'm trying to understand, I replied, wondering how she could know whether or not I was religious. I know, Michelle, I was only teasing. You were right in explaining it as a kind of purgatory, but of course, this is quite accidental. In fact, this is one of the several accidents of nature. An albino is an accident and is a 4-leaf clover also be considered as an accident. Your appendix is just as much an accident. Your doctors still wonder what use it could possibly have in your body. The answer, no use whatsoever. Now, usually in nature, everything has a precise reason for existing. That's why I list the appendix among the natural accidents. People living in this universe suffer neither physically or morally. For example, if I hit you, you would feel no pain. But if the blows were strong enough, although without pain, you would still die from them. This doesn't make sense, but okay. This might be difficult to comprehend, but it is so. Those existing here know nothing of what I have just explained to you. And it is fortunate because they would be tempted to commit suicide, which even here is not a solution. What do they eat? They do not eat, nor do they drink because they don't feel the need to. Here, remember, time has stopped. Those dead won't even rot. But that's terrible. And all the greatest service that one can render to these people would be to kill them? You raise an important point there. Effectively, it would be one of two solutions. What is the other? To send them back where they came from. But that would pose great problems because we're able to make use of the warp. We could return many of them to your universe and thus liberate them. But I'm not sure you're aware of the enormous problems that would create for the majority of these people. Here, as I've already said, you have people who have been here for thousands of years. What would happen if they found themselves back in the universe they left so long ago? They might go insane. In all, there is nothing to do. She smiled gently at my affirmation. You are certainly the man of action we require, Michelle, but beware of jumping to conclusions. You have much more to see. It's a little thick, if you ask me. It's a little thick. It's getting a little thick in here. Yeah. The appendix serves many important physiological functions. All-knowing alien has outdated information. You are probably correct, right? They are chicken nuggies, and I slaughtered them like chicken nuggies. Yes. Not just the men, but the women and children too. Yeah, there's a big problem. Like, oh, I'm so spiritually advanced. I'm just going to kill these 8 men, right? Just going to kill them. Just kill those 8 men. Well, friends, we've done a little bit of overtime. We hit our goal tonight. I have, so we've done our due diligence. I am still going to bounce on out of here. Let me know, would you guys like me to read that whole book and put it up on the channel? I will ask Samuel Chong if that would be permissible. And I believe that he still has some sway about the copyright situation or whatever. I will ask Samuel Chong if I'm allowed to read the whole book, like narrate the whole book, like an audio book. And if Samuel Chong says it's okay, I will do that and put it on the channel. Would you be interested in that? Yes, in all caps, if you'd be interested in that. No, in all caps, if you wouldn't be interested in that. Save me the trouble. Is it just me or is it getting pretty thick in here? That is correct. Spooky says, thank you for hitting the goal, chat. We love you all. Exactly. Garaji says, great show. Yes, it has been a great show. So we've done our due diligence. I made it through an interview without calling this guy a total fucking wackadoo and screaming at him, right? I'm proud of myself. We're expanding our horizons. I don't mind talking to people. You know who I would like to talk to? More people that claim they got abducted by aliens. That's an interesting topic to me. Tell me your story. I would certainly do that. So we'll see if we can't find some more true believer guests. We must have balance, Danielson, right? I was just watching Karate Kid with my son. First, you must learn balance. You know, sometimes we're way too skeptical. We got to build some more bridges, add a little balance, widen the tent so that some of the true believers still come here for some of the shows and don't think I'm such an asshole, right? No, Spooky knows. They'll always think I'm an asshole. But but I am an asshole that's been right about most of my coverage. So that's got to account for something, I would think, right? I will take one more moment to check in with the Kick Live chat. If we have any support to call out there, I will call it out. No, only Chill Station 7. Only Chill Station 7 cared enough to send a sub today, right? Storyline, lay on your head on your desk. What? I don't know. Thank you, Maria CC. I appreciate that. And thanks for getting us over the goal. We are expanding our horizons over here, says Ray Gutter. That is correct. Yes. Well, we want to thank you all for the kindness, generosity, and support of the show. Big, big support. 3 goals in a row. Fuck you, DSP. And I didn't beg once. I just mentioned it. That's all we do. So we've done our due diligence, and that's all I got for you, friends. Let me know in the comments or in the live chat, do you want me to narrate the whole book? It's only 180 pages, so I think I could get through it at a pretty good clip. Let me know if you would like me to read the book and put it up on our channel so that you don't have to actually read it. You could just listen to me read it to you, kind of like a bedtime story, right? What do you think of that? If you want to see that, put yes in all capital letters. If you don't want it, put, it looks like a lot of yeses. I don't see any no's. So I will talk to Samuel Chong and see if it'd be okay for me to do that. So, so that's all I got for you, friends. I'm not sure when I'll be back. Follow me on Twitter at Stephen Cambion and join our Discord. Somebody will kindly give you the link to joining the Discord. We always post our shows on Twitter and the Discord before they happen, so you'll know when the next one is. As soon as I know, like if I know on Thursday, tomorrow night, I'm going to do the Kick show on Friday, I will tweet it out and we'll do that. So that's all I got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night and God bless all of you.